Guys, thank you for your beautiful analysis. Staying in the note of the AFC East, today, the New York Jets beat the Arizona Cardinals 7-6. But that was not really the big headline. The big headline was Mark Sanchez was benched in that game after going 10 for 21, throwing for 97 yards and throwing 3 interceptions. His replacement, not Tebow, but Greg McElroy. Greg McElroy went 5 for 7, threw for 29 yards, and the game's only touchdown. It is true to say that Mark Sanchez has hit a new bottom. Guys, what do you think?
Well, as Jim Harbaugh put it, we've got to go with the guy who has the hot hand, and Mark Sanchez clearly does not. They don't have any good receivers, so I guess...
He has not had the hot hand all season.
I know, and I've been waiting. I saw Greg McElroy play in college at Alabama. He was a great quarterback. I'm always thinking, why don't the Jets put Greg McElroy in? And they finally did, and he's actually can throw, and he's actually a decent quarterback, so I seriously...
They should go with him, yeah.
I know, I thought they should have all season long, and they finally did today. And now they're finding themselves in pretty good position, possibly only one game out of the wild card. And if they stick with him, and their schedule isn't overwhelming, so if they stick with him, it's Sanchez. They have no chance of making the playoffs. If they stick with Greg McElroy, I think they might have a slight chance.
That's very true.
Well, guys, I'd like to say he threw 7 passes. So let's not get too ahead of ourselves.
But I saw him play at Alabama.
Not exactly a big
7
sample
passes
size.
does not make it. It's not a game.
First of all, we'd like to welcome our New York and New Jersey correspondent, Carter.
Oh, yes. How are you doing, Carter?
You on the line, Carter?
Here?
Yes, how are you guys?
Good, how are you?
I'm all right. It was good to see the Jets win today.
Yeah, so being a New York fan, what do you think about this Sanchez benching?
Well, obviously, it's something that everybody here in New York has been waiting for a long time, to finally see Mark Sanchez walk off the field, the MetLife fans go crazy and give a standing ovation, and finally, as we have long awaited, it's Greg McElroy.
Yeah.
It's hoping not to see Tim Tebow going out there, but although, like you said, he only threw 7 passes, he looked very good, did something that Mark Sanchez had a very hard time doing in a Jets uniform. He threw a game-winning touchdown.
That is true. He did show things that could show some signs of not greatness, but some signs that he could be a good quarterback. But don't you think it's a little bit too soon to call him great?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's too soon to say that he's a really great QB, but I don't think it's too soon at all to say that he's better than Mark Sanchez. I think that right now, the way that Mark Sanchez has played so far this season, the Jets really, any option is a better idea right now, because Mark Sanchez has just had a terrible, terrible year. I think that Rex Ryan has finally come to his senses and is putting in another quarterback for Mark Sanchez. If I was Rex Ryan, I'd start him next week.
Yeah, I mean, you look at McElroy, he outproduced Sanchez points-wise in just 7 passes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How could that be bad at all? So you gotta look for McElroy to hopefully start next week if the Jets.
Although Carter, do you think that next week they could also have put in Tebow for some time at starting quarterback?
No.
Yeah, I don't think they will either. I think that Rex Ryan is, as it looks like to me anyway, that he's been trying to avoid putting Tim Tebow into the game. That he didn't like this whole trade and all this publicity and everything. I don't know why. But if the Jets are looking at this guy who is a third-string QB, who does not have all the baggage that Tim Tebow carries, who does not have all of the devoted followers, but is probably still a pretty good quarterback, I don't see why the Jets wouldn't ride him out until he becomes quite bad. I think that we're going to keep him on the field.
Well, you know, successful benchings has been a little bit of a trend this past few weeks as Colin Kaepernick came in. For the Alex Smith, the interesting thing in that situation, though, Alex Smith was having a good season. He did have a concussion, though, and most experts in the 49ers say that's why that Kaepernick was in. I don't know. Do you think that other teams should start thinking about benching their bad quarterbacks?
Well, I mean, I don't want the New York Jets are a team that has stuck with their starting QB for far too long. And there are not a lot of other teams like that out there. And you know, you always say the most popular player on your team is the backup QB. But a lot of times he's not as good as the guy that you have in your starting position. You look at a team like Arizona, which has just had an awful quarterback situation so far this year. And it seems like, you know, and as you would think, the farther down the line they get, the worse the quarterbacks get. So it's tough to kind of see when a new quarterback should be put in, and the team should do a lot of thinking about it, which I don't know happened in this Colin Kaepernick situation.
And Carter, the Jets were saying that perhaps, should we just bag the season? I mean, they are 5-7.
They're
but
only one game of the wild card potentially.
Right, but let's say they lose next week. Even
I don't think
let's
they
say
will.
Mark Sanchez starts and they lose next week. So, do you think they should just have Greg McElroy start the rest of their games?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. The Jets, if the season is done, you know what you're going to get from Mark Sanchez. It has been drilled into the minds of the Jets and their fans what you are going to get from Mark Sanchez if he's your quarterback. And they know that already. And if the season is done, if it doesn't matter to the Jets who they play at QB, why not play somebody else and see how good Greg McElroy is? Put him in for more than 7 passes and see if he can actually carry the Jets offense. Because then if he can, next season you can have a much improved starting quarterback. And if he doesn't pan out, well, then you can always go back to Sanchez.
I think if I'm Rex Ryan, I give him at least a half to start out with. If he does not play well in that half, give Sanchez another try, or maybe even Tebow, depending on if Rex will finally swallow his pride. But if McElroy plays well in that half, give him the rest of the season. If he pans out, he pans out. If not, use your draft pick that you end up getting on a Matt Barkley who's looking like he may slide, but, it's another USC quarterback, so who knows how well that'll work.
For the 2013 season, do you think the Jets should draft another quarterback, or do you think they should, like stick with McElroy or Sanchez or whoever?
That depends to me on what was just being said, how the quarterback pans out over the rest of the year. If Greg McElroy turns out to be a flop, and Mark Sanchez continues to disappoint, and Rex Ryan still doesn't want to play Tim Tebow, then I think drafting a quarterback wouldn't be a bad idea, because the Jets right now don't have anything at QB, and they've got to have something, and a rookie quarterback is better than the nothing the Jets have right now. But if Greg McElroy, as my gut right now is telling me that he will, goes out and is a dependable quarterback, not necessarily a good quarterback, I'm not saying an elite quarterback, but is a dependable quarterback, and the Jets might be able to invest in somebody to pad their run game and somebody to pad their defense, which has really been sliding the past few years.
Okay, if there is a quarterback that you think they should draft, who do you think it should be next year?
Well, I mean, you mentioned Matt Barkley. I think that he's a great guy to look at, even though the Jets obviously are not very good with USC quarterbacks thus far. He showed some real poise out in USC, especially in a situation that was not ideal for a college quarterback to be in a team that, had those sanctions on him. And although he never got that chance to play in the big game against Notre Dame and really show how he can do under that immense pressure, I think that he would be a good idea for the Jets if McElroy doesn't pan out.
Now, my thing with Matt Barkley is he looks good on paper. Playing in a USC offense, his stats look good. The one thing I've heard and I've seen when I've watched USC's games is he hasn't really had to make too many throws over 20 or so yards. And when he's being pressured, his accuracy seems to go down, that he can't really hit anyone over 10 yards. Now, whether or not this will work well in the Jets offense, which, I mean, if you watch the season, at least with Tony Sperano, they've had pretty much all their passes under 20 yards in the first place. It should be interesting to see if they do go after Barkley, how that'll work out.
Should be.
And Matt Barkley, even if you can still draft him, put him on the practice squad for a few years, see how he develops, work on developing him, because if you do have Greg McElroy, for example, you can just have Barkley develop him for a year to 3 years. If it doesn't work out, just sign him for 2 years on the practice squad.
No, practice squad,
Jason, if he goes to the practice squad, someone's going to sign him off the practice squad.
No, practice squads, though, are for, guys that are, undrafted or, very low. First-round draft picks in their rookie year do not go on the practice squad.
Well, that's true, but I'm just saying, if you need to develop him, I mean, you can have him on the sidelines at least, but is there going to be much for him to do, just during a normal practice? I'm not sure if he's on the practice squad. You can even just put him on the normal roster for a year, and then if, he's not developing at all and you don't like what you're seeing, put him down on the practice squad, try to develop him, wait 2-3 years, and then either...
Jason, I'll tell you this now. If he goes on the practice squad, he's not staying with that team.
I get what you're saying, Jason, that he should not start. I think you're getting at is that he should not start his first year, right?
Yeah.
You're saying he should have time to learn, and I agree with that. I think that if they draft the quarterback, I think the Jets have to come and realize that for the next few years, they're not going to be good. They're focusing on the future right now, as in past a few years. Because, no matter what they do, I really can't see a situation where they have success in these next few years.
All right, that's a good point. And now we're going to move on to the other team, football team in New York. Giants are playing the Redskins in a divisional matchup on Monday Night Football. The Redskins are, I believe, 5-6. They beat Dallas last year, so with a win, they could easily be in the hunt for not only the wild card.
No, the playoffs. No, more of the division than
the division. Carter, what do you think about the Giants-Redskins game tomorrow night?
Well, that's going to be a really great game to watch. Right now, the Redskins, you're right, they're 5-6. The Giants at 7-4. If the Redskins win the game, they're just a game back in the NFC.
And they also get the tiebreak.
Robert Griffin III has been just the most exciting player in football right now. Last 2 games, he's thrown 4 touchdowns apiece. He is playing not only not only is he just a great passer, but he's also got a great rush behind him, led by Alfred Morris. The Redskins right now, playing at home on Monday, I think they're going to win this game over the Giants. Even though they don't have a very good pass defense, even though Eli Manning looked great against the Packers last week, I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be a shootout, but I think the Redskins are going to come out on top.
Carter, which Giants team do you think shows up in this game?
I think the good one does. I think that the Giants are going to perform the way that they did in Green Bay. I think that they know that this is a big moment for their team. I think that November is over and that swoon is over, and that Eli Manning is going to get to his December self. And the Giants right now and in the past have been a very good team when it's come down to the wire. They haven't faced RG3 though, but I think they're going to put up a great fight in Washington Monday night. I just don't think they're going to wind up getting the win.
And you did bring up RG3 as well as Alfred Morris in the rushing attack of the Redskins. How about the Giants up front, their defensive line? They have Jason Pierre-Paul and Justin Tuck. How do you think Alfred Morris and possibly RG3 are going to fare in the running game?
Well, it's going to be more difficult when they're facing the Giants' defensive line. There's no doubt about that. But I think that they're good enough to beat it. Justin Tuck was talking earlier about how he's a little afraid that the Giants are going to be playing the Redskins twice a week. The Giants are going to be playing RG3 twice a week now that he's playing in Washington. The fact that they have such a prolific quarterback, they can not only throw the ball but run the ball, and an incredible running back behind him in the backfield, makes it a very difficult job for any defensive line to know what the Redskins are going to do. And so if you confuse that defensive line enough, if you're Washington, no matter how good they are, you can still run the ball through them. And if the Redskins do that effectively on Monday night, which I think they will, they're going to win the game.
All right, Carter, thanks for joining us. We're going to have to let you go, though. Hopefully we'll see you next week.
Okay, thanks.